The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. H.P. Lovecraft. Anchorhead. November 1997. You take a deep breath of salty air as the first raindrops begin to spatter the pavement, and the swollen, slate-covered clouds that blanket the sky mutter ominous portents amongst themselves over the little coastal town of Anchorhead. Squinting up into the glowering storm, you wonder how everything managed to happen so fast. The strange phone call over a month ago, from a lawyer claiming to represent the estate of some distant branch of Michael's family, was bewildering enough in itself. But then the sudden whirlwind of planning and decisions, legal details and travel arrangements, the packing up and shipping away of your entire home, your entire life. Now suddenly here you are, after driving for the past 2 days straight, over 1,000 miles away from the familiar warmth of Texas, getting ready to move into the ancestral mansion of a clan of relatives so far removed that not even Michael has ever heard of them. And now you've only been married since June, and none of this was any of your idea in the first place, and it's already starting to rain. These days, you often find yourself feeling confused and uprooted. You shake yourself and force the melancholy thoughts from your head, trying to focus on the errand at hand. You're to meet with the real estate agent and pick up the keys to your new house, while Michael runs across town to take care of some paperwork at the university. He'll be back to pick you up in a few minutes, and then the two of you can begin the long, precarious process of settling in. A sullen belch emanates from the clouds, and the rain starts coming down harder. Fat, cold drops smacking loudly against the cobblestones. Shouldn't it be snowing in New England at this time of the year? With a sigh, you open your umbrella. Welcome to Anchorhead. The first day. I was far from home, and the spell of the eastern sea was upon me. H.P. Lovecraft. Outside the real estate office, a grim little cul-de-sac tucked away in a corner of the claustrophobic tangle of narrow, twisting avenues that largely constitute the older portion of Anchorhead. Like most of the streets in this city, it is ancient, shadowy, and leads essentially nowhere. The lane ends here at the real estate agent's office, which lies to the east, and winds its way back toward the center of town to the west. A narrow, garbage-choked alley opens to the southeast. The door has a glass front with the name of the real estate company, Benson and Brackhurst, stenciled across it. The blinds are drawn, the lights are off inside, and no one appears to be home. Odd, since the agent knew you were coming today. You rap on the glass sharply, peering through it into the dark room inside. Nobody answers. Strange, you just talked to the real estate agent. Miss Benson, you think it was. Yesterday. She was going to meet you here. In the distance, you can hear the lonesome keening of a train whistle drifting on the wind. Cupping your hands around your eyes and peering in, you can make out dim shadows in an empty office. Alley. This narrow aperture between two buildings is nearly blocked with piles of rotting cardboard boxes and overstuffed garbage cans. Ugly, half-crumbling brick walls to either side totter oppressively over you. The alley ends here at a tall, wooden fence. High up on the wall of the northern building, there is a narrow, transom-style window. One of the boards seems to be loose down at the bottom. You could probably just squeeze through. Dropping to your hands and knees, you wriggle underneath the loose board and scramble down a muddy slope. Narrow beach. This narrow strip of beach is tucked away between two outcroppings in the predominantly rocky shoreline, accessible only from a steep, muddy slope to the west. The sand is filthy and strewn with rocks, seaweed, litter, and other bits of storm-tossed detritus. Near the bottom of the slope, a sewage outflow pipe juts out over the beach, about 3 feet above the ground. A thin stream of acrid-smelling sewer water trickles out over the lip of the pipe, forming a puddle in the sand. You are getting wet. The concrete pipe is about 1.5 feet in diameter, Looking in, you can only see about 3 feet before the inner walls of the pipe disappear into blackness. You are getting wet. You open the umbrella. Another wave crashes against the rocks, sending a cloud of spray into the air. The sea is the color of old pewter, surging and chopping restlessly beneath the clouds. The metal garbage cans are stuffed to overflowing with slowly decomposing refuse. You push the garbage cans around aimlessly. Grunting and holding your breath, you manhandle one of the filthy cans under the window. You clamber onto the wobbling garbage can, precariously balanced. You can just reach the lower edge of the window from here. You open the transom window. It's a tight squeeze, but you just manage to wriggle through, dropping quietly to the floor inside. File room. Peering through the murk, you can make out the blocky outlines of filing cabinets lining the walls and a doorway to the west. A window high up on the south wall lets in a very faint illumination. There must be hundreds of files here, too many to browse through. You'll have to look up something specific if you want to find anything. Office. Pallid gray light trickles in through the drawn blinds. The office is deserted, papers still scattered across the top of the desk. The front door lies west, and the file room lies east. Sitting on the corner of the paper-strewn desk are a telephone and an answering machine. Someone seems to have left a cup of coffee sitting out, half-finished and cold. Muddy-looking and unappetizing. Who knows how long it's been sitting out. It smells nasty. You pick up the styrofoam cup. In the styrofoam cup is some cold, murky coffee. It's just an ordinary-looking telephone. You can hear a fly buzzing around, somewhere nearby. You can't see where the fly is. You're not even sure where the buzzing is coming from. You start to dial out, but you can't get anything but a big signal no matter how much you jiggle the receiver. Frustrated, you hang up. A simple answering machine, with a small display indicating messages received, a button labeled play, and a button labeled delete. The display indicates there is one message on the machine, left, oddly enough, at 4:19 this morning. The display also shows that the message has already been checked. For a while there is nothing but a quiet hiss, followed by intermittent skirls of a strange-sounding static. It sounds like one of those annoying glitches where the caller hangs up but the machine keeps recording anyway. Then, barely audible through the static, you detect what sounds like a human voice whispering a single word. Verlac. The machine beeps. A brief shudder ripples up your back. You remember now. Verlac is the name of this branch of Michael's family. You unlock the office door. Strange, the file on the Verlac property has been cleaned out. Title, deed, all the papers, all of it gone. There is, however, a set of keys tucked down in the hanging folder. You quickly pocket them. As the lane winds along from east to west, it narrows until the steep, jagged rooftops on either side of the street practically touch each other. To the south, a side street leads across Whately Bridge toward the center of town, and a twisting lane leads up a hill towards the northwest. A short flight of steps to the north leads down to the local watering hole. You close your umbrella, as is your habit after coming indoors. Local pub. A dank, drafty old drinking hole lit by flickering, oil-burning lanterns. Smoke collects in greasy pools among the rafters, and shadows crowd thick around. The bar runs the length of the room to your right, while to the south a low doorway opens onto the street. Mill workers and fishermen occupy a few of the tables, drinking beer or puffing grimly at long-stemmed pipes. Each is wrapped in his solitude, soaking up the general miasma of dreary fatalism. The lantern sitting on the table nearest you sputters fitfully, throwing distorted shadows along the wall. No one here looks as though they'd mind if you borrowed one of these lamps. Casually, you purloin the nearest one. It's an old-fashioned hurricane lamp, with a tall glass chimney to protect it from the wind. The cotton wick burns fitfully in its reservoir of cheap oil. A dark and dour expanse of wood, pitted and scarred and stained with the rings from over 100 years' worth of slopping beer mugs. You rap on the bar, feeling a bit self-conscious. No one comes to take your order. Not a bartender in sight. Somehow you just don't feel all that cool. As you make your way toward the door, your foot strikes something under one of the tables. Some forgetful soul has left a flask underneath one of the tables, pushed into a shadowy corner. The label is faded and mostly peeled away, but what little you can make out seems to indicate that this is not a particularly distinguished brand of spirits. The words bootleg and rotgut come to mind, probably because they are the only words legible on what's left of the label. You open the flask, revealing about 3 swallows worth of cheap whiskey. The fumes make your eyes water. This stuff smells strong enough to remove paint. A sudden gust of wind puts the lantern out. Waitley Bridge. A hoary monument of crumbling, moss-eaten flagstones, Waitley Bridge is possibly older than any other structure in the entire city. Ponderously it spans the dark, torpid waters of the Miskatong River, connecting the north and south halves of the city and occasionally raining bits of gravel and mortar from its underside into the water. It looks just wide enough for 2 cars to pass each other between the flanking stone parapets, but you wouldn't volunteer to try it.